Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet, and another best of the week video. So we'll recap some of the biggest news from recent days, and we'll start first with Danial Dubois failing in his bid to get the WBA to overturn his loss to Oleksandr Uysk, or at least get them to order a rematch. So as we know, in that fight there was a moment of controversy. A punch came into the belt line, the referee rules it low, Usyk has some time to recover, and then the proceedings carry on. So Frank Warren, he puts in an appeal and tries to get things overturned. So what we have though is the WBA coming down in favour of the champion. So it says that on September 4, the company representing Dubois emailed the WBA indicating that Queensberry desired to have the outcome of the bout reversed due to the referee's action for a punch they considered low in the 5th round. Queensberry Promotion sent all the documents with their arguments to consider a reversal of the result. They were sent to Usyk's representative, the IBF and the WBO. On 12 September, Usyk's team acknowledged receipt of the appeal and their response, in which they addressed their arguments and various considerations about the fight. It says who the supervisors were, etc. And we'll just cut right down to near the bottom. The WBA says its rules determine that the decision of a low blow and whether a boxer who receives it can continue are strict competencies of the referee, and he is the only one authorized to make these decisions. After studying all the documents, the conclusions of all the instances, and the internal rules of the WBA, it was determined that the appeal does not proceed, and the decision of the fight stands with the victory and defense of the champion Usyk. So Danial Dubois does not get things going in his favour there, and I think a lot of people thought that an appeal was probably a long shot in the end, but at the time people were certainly divided about what happened, and I'm not going to try to convince you of either way. Personally, myself, I thought it was low, but I know that there is a lot of people lobbying against that, and they've got their reasons and why they think that is so. But Danial Dubois has his title shot, he loses, and I think what we forget from that fight is he effectively quit at the end as well. Anyway, the WBA has also made another resolution. So Justis Huni and Andrew Tabiti, who are fighting later this month in Cancun, they will now be contesting the WBA international belt. Not really sure why it's on the line, but obviously someone's lobbied it for it to be on the line, so it is what it is. So I just thought I'd quickly note that. Arslanbek Makhmudov, he has a new opponent. So he was to face Argon Smakichi, and then all of a sudden Argon Smakichi ended up in the octagon in MMA. So you have a situation where they've brought in junior Anthony Wright, 24-1 record. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Makhmudov is kind of treading water at the moment, trying to get someone to fight him. The Smakichi fight was okay, but this, I think, is actually a slight step down. Yeah, I mean, it's going to end the way that we think it's going to end. Let's just hope, now that Makhmudov is with Top Rank, even though this is a Top Rank promoted show in Saudi Arabia with Tyson Fury, this exhibition, let's hope that we have a situation where Makhmudov's going to get something happening for his career, because rotting on the vine otherwise. And right here you can see the record of 24-1. It's coming off a couple of KO wins, but let's face it, that means nothing. Speaking of that card in Saudi Arabia, so the British Boxing Board of Control is now allowing the British title to be on the line for Fabio Wardley versus David Adeleye, with Wardley being the holder of the title. It says, following a request from promoter Frank Warren and invitation from the General Entertainment Authority of Saudi Arabia, the BBB of C have agreed that the tournament scheduled for Saturday, 28th October 2023 in Boulevard Hall, Riyadh, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, be held under the BBB of C's jurisdiction. As such, the above-mentioned British Championship is approved to be contested on this tournament. So that's good news. I mean, obviously when they set this fight up, they must have thought that it was going to be on the line, except when they announced this fight, it wasn't. But now they have confirmed it. So the will they, won't they of it being on the line is now sorted. And it is a good fight. Quite a few heavyweight fights on that card. This is, I believe, going to be the co-main event, and we're going to see these guys throw down. And Adeleye, the improving fighter, Fabio Wardley, who's got the reflexes and seemingly the power, but does he have the experience? Well, we're going to see it all on the line there. And you have Frank Warren saying on social media, delighted to announce the British heavyweight title is on the line. They'll clash da-da-da-da-da. Deontay Wilder's trainer Malik Scott says Anthony Joshua doesn't want to face Deontay Wilder. And we've been here, done that, got the postcard on these sorts of comments before, and obviously the fight's been talked about since, 2018, 5 years straight. There had been talk it would be held in Saudi Arabia in a few months, but obviously things went quiet. The Saudis came out and said no offer had been made, despite stuff that Eddie Hearn was saying. And let's face it, let's just hold our breath and not wait for this to happen, because I mean, come on, I don't think it's likely at this point. AJ is cool if he goes his whole career without fighting Deontay. He doesn't really mind it. You don't see him fighting for it. It's the fighters at the end of the point. I don't care what Finkel or Al Heyman are saying. You see Deontay Wilder calling out fighters. Like, some of this, you have to take some of this from yourself. Like, bro, it wasn't Clubber Lang's trainer Rocky 3 saying, I'm going to get you, I'm going to get you. It was Clubber Lang himself. It wasn't Angelo Dundee chasing fighters. It was Muhammad Ali. Yeah, you promoters and managers are part of it. You have to do your job and get the big fights done. To me, AJ doesn't campaign about the fight enough. He doesn't really want it. And we all know why, because stylistically, he's picture perfect to be knocked out by Deontay. Make of that what you will. So you've got the advisor for Zhang Zhilei, Terry Lane, saying that Andy Ruiz Jr. is just being unreasonable on the negotiating front, and they're not even considering a fight with Ruiz Jr. He says Andy Ruiz's father is doing a great job at negotiating him into almost obscurity at this point. He's got to get realistic. He's got to put a logical hat on. He's just not, reasonable with anybody. And he's got the outside of the ring problems too, and no network wants to touch that. So actually, he should come in a little bit more hat in hand to everybody. I would say that's probably unrealistic, and he's referring to a fight with Zhang. And it seems to be a case that Ruiz is begging on social media for a fight, but we keep hearing multiple sources are saying that Ruiz and his team just can't be negotiated with. And Malik Scott, Deontay Wilder's trainer, has made similar comments, saying what's happened with Andy, he's tried to price himself out. Same way he did with Fury, same he's done with other fighters that he wanted to fight. This time he was dealing with someone that don't have to fight him for money, so if you want to play games, he wants the same money that he's getting when he was a champion in the blink of an eye. You don't get that same money. You're a contender now. You don't get that type of money. I don't get mad at nobody for striving for higher revenue. It's a tough sport. He did what he had to do as far as fighting for the gain of revenue for him and his family. It didn't work, and we were on to bigger things. So Andy Ruiz Jr., I guess if he's pointing a finger at everyone else, maybe he's got 3 or 4 pointing back at himself. Otto Wallin has taken to Swedish media to call out Oleksandr Uysk, and this was passed on by a Scandinavian boxing fan, with Otto Wallin in studio on a TV station calling out Usyk. Let's face it, Otto Wallin is in a better position after his win over Murat Gassiev. It's going to elevate him, as it was an IBF eliminator, higher up those rankings, but he's not due a title shot. He's not a mandatory, and let's face it, the past 3 or 4 years he hasn't really been up to much and hasn't fought his way into mandatory positions like some others have. So he's kind of still waiting, sitting and watching, hoping that someone's going to pick him. So we'll see what happens with the IBF. If a belt becomes vacant, maybe it will be Hrgovic and Wallin. We shall see. But just calling out Usyk doesn't mean he's going to get it. And Bakhodir Jalolov set to face Chris Thompson in Uzbekistan, and this will be on the 17th of November. So it's another fight where really we don't care about this for Bakhodir Jalolov. They probably should have done better, need to do better. He's kind of just drifting in and out of the amateurs and pros, and until he commits full time, I mean, maybe we're just going to see more of this. So he has recently signed a deal with Top Rank. This one is obviously not part of that, but he obviously has an out to have some fights at home. This here could be to help, maintain different bits and pieces with rankings, but for the most part, it's a bit of another forgettable fight for Jalolov. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter. Boxing_squared. I'm out.